Okay, today we're gabbing with Jennifer Pedranti, one of the stars of The Real Housewives of Orange County. Jen has been, for me, such a breath of fresh since she joined last season. I love her combo of being a fun time, but also being a total open book. And I think that is the perfect combination for a Real Housewife. Jen, it is so great to have you here.
Oh,
How
thank
are
you.
you?
Thanks for having me. I'm good. I'm excited to be here. So thanks for having me.
Of course. So we briefly said hi to each other at the watch party in New York a month or two ago, I want to say, but that was a whirlwind of a night. So
It was a whirlwind of a night, and briefly, you're right, it was briefly. So unfortunate, but at least we get to talk now. So I'm grateful
yes.
for that.
Yes. No, but I really do love having you on the show, and I mean this like as a huge compliment. I've really felt since you've been on the show that you have more of a vibe of an old school Real Housewife,
Oh,
somebody, and I really mean that as a compliment because I think a lot of times we see new additions who maybe care a little bit too much about what people think and they filter things out. And I just don't feel that from you at all on this show. And
thank you.
I'm just curious if like being open like this on camera, if did that come naturally for you? Was it a challenge or was it just kind of like, this is who I am?
Okay, that's a great question. And it's funny you say that. I remind you of like an OG housewife. I've heard that and I've wondered what does that exactly mean? So thank you for explaining that. I don't do well on the surface with people. I don't like the fake pretend. Like, how are you? Good. How are you? Good.
Right.
When I am getting to know somebody, like I want to know you. I want to know what makes you. I want to know all the things about you. So it was not hard for me to be transparent and open. What was hard for me was the opinions of everybody. Like I didn't realize how hard that was going to be.
Of your co-stars or of viewers or both?
Both,
Hmm.
both. Like I've never had that before where,
Hmm.
this group of women is very dynamic and opinionated. And so I've never had women so overtly,
Yeah.
speak to me or about me, the way that it is within our friend group. And then public opinion, when you're truly open, everybody has a thought and an opinion on you and about you. And so I think, learning how to get a little bit thicker skin.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's a tough lesson for anybody, but I feel like if you can handle some of that, because it's hard to say it like comes with the territory, but it does, it's
It
hard to
does.
real yeah, exactly. And it's like, but I do think that being so open, it just like it just sets you up on for more long-term success on a show like this, to be honest. Like I think that if that's what we expect from you, like that's a great thing. So, and we saw that. So in this week's episode, there's the trip to Sonoma, and we
Yep.
saw there's a really emotional couple of moments for you as you're going to a court hearing for your divorce. And
Mhm.
again, another moment where you just are very open. But that was earlier this year. So a month ago, news came out that you finally settled your divorce
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and we have finalized things, which must did that just come as a huge relief for you? I mean,
You know it's 4 years of trying to finalize that, and in 4 years of, even though separation was forever ago, there's still that tether to one another, and there's still that space that it created between my ex and I, of me constantly feeling frustrated of why are you not turning this in and this in, and why does this feel like you're prolonging, and he's feeling like I'm not prolonging, why are you asking for this and this, and I don't have time for all this documentation. And so when we were completely finalized, I was like, okay, now let the healing start. Like hopefully we can start moving past hurt, pain, anger. And I hope that co-parenting and healing can be like what is to come. I hope.
good, good. And is it weird having like those like cold hard facts and numbers and figures so public now that you are a public figure? Like, I mean, like, what's that like?
It's my life,
Yeah.
right? Just like you said, this is what I signed up for. What's hard is those numbers are out there and that's fact, but people don't realize sometimes things don't go as it seems to go. And
Right.
even though everything was settled, I'm still in a spot with my ex of, okay, now can you start making payments? When will you start making payments? But yet publicly I'm getting messages like go get a job or sell your things. And like life is not as it's always exactly portrayed. And so, yeah, it's amazing to be finalized. There's still a few bumps happening
Okay.
with my ex and I, but trying,
Okay.
moving forward as best as
We've
we
made
can.
progress. We've made
Yeah.
progress. Yeah. Yeah. And that criticism I think is so frustrating just as a viewer, honestly, the get a job thing, because I know that on the show you can't call attention all the time to the fact
No.
that you're on a
Yeah.
show, but you have a job and it's being on Real Housewives of Orange County.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
is that frustrating for you to not be able to like
I'm
be
like,
like,
I have a
guys?
job. I feel like I told Ryan the other day, I said, when are we winning the lottery? Because I'm tired of working. I feel like I'm always working. I'm either at the studio or trying to do something with the show. Somebody asked me the other day, like, do you have any regrets, coming onto the show and the openness, that it
Mhm.
brings? And I'm like, you kidding me? Because of that. Honestly, this is a job that is a blessing for me and my kids. And so, but you're right, when I'm filming, I can't talk about the job aspect of the show. So that gets like sometimes I want to be like, I am working, but
Yeah, but I also sometimes feel like some of your co-stars like say that because they know you can't say that. Like
they
it's
know I
like
can't. They've got me in a spot. She loves to just get up and go to the gym or, and I'm like, but I'm doing what you're doing.
right,
And
right.
like all the comments about the glam and all all that
The
was so
glam's part,
hard.
the glam's part of the expectation too. Come on.
Yes. And
Yeah,
and the one of the amazing things about this platform is like the trade.
right.
You get a lot of people who are like, I'll do this if you do this. And so, but I can't talk about it. So I just sit around looking like, I haven't been to the grocery store in 2 months, but my hair looks good. My hair looks
Yeah,
good. Oh my gosh.
yeah, yeah. Does settling your divorce and finalizing that, does that help to sort of alleviate some of the topics that we saw you go through earlier in the season of like, the whole thing with Gina and the rent and the back rent or moving in with Ryan? Like, how does settling the divorce impact those things at all?
I mean, let's be honest. When I start getting child support and alimony, you know how helpful that is. The kids
Yeah,
are here with us um, most of the time. I have the kids most of the time, and it's not a small amount of kids, and so there's expenses, and it will be so helpful to have that. So I know people have opinions on me asking for child support. I don't feel bad about it. We have 5 amazing kids between the two of us. We both have to do our part. And yeah, moving in with Ryan was a godsend. And I took a lot of heat for that, for moving in with Ryan, but people don't remember. I mean, people don't understand. I've been with Ryan at that point for 3 years. We were talking about all of this anyway. Ryan was at a spot where he was like, I want your divorce final before you and the kids move in. Now, being evicted definitely was like, okay, now what?
right.
Um, and so he's not some guy that I was like, hey, do you feel like taking us in? We were
Exactly.
planning life together anyway. And so I truly, I can't even tell you, I don't know what the kids and I would have done. I mean, we were in a spot for a minute.
Well, that's amazing. I'm glad that it's worked out so well. It's like you guys are clearly happy all living there, and so
Yep.
that's great. That's great to
Yep.
hear.
Thank you.
We're seeing, in recent episodes, you and Katie really kind of get closer and really
Yeah.
bonding over having this sort of similar experience in your divorces. Like, it's all good. We love it. We love a dog interruption.
Yeah.
Like, but we're seeing, you guys are bonding over having somewhat similar experiences in your divorces and kind of really having building that emotional connection. Have you two continued to get closer in the months since we've seen some of this stuff?
Um, I talk to Katie every single day. Like
Hmm.
I see her probably once a week and we talk every single day. And to have a friend in this is a game changer. Somebody who nobody can prepare you for the experience. And so to have a woman who genuinely you're like show or no show, like you're my girl. That has been priceless. And her experiences of life, not only divorce, but she's adopted and I'm an adopted mom.
Yeah,
So we share like she'll tell me like the child side of it of being adopted, which helps me with
it's really
Dominic, and I
helpful.
tell her the adopted mom side of it. Her friendship has been amazing for me.
That's amazing. And it's it's one of those things because I really like Katie, but I feel like her first several episodes it got bogged down with this Heather drama
Yeah,
that didn't, and who knows like what really went into
right.
all of that, but like what we saw is that was what we saw from Katie, and I kind of wish that we had seen you two bonding almost earlier in the season because I think it's really kind of colored in the lines around her, I think in a really nice way, and I'm glad this is happening.
It is happening. It's happening, and I hope. and our friendship through the season keeps growing,
Good,
keeps getting stronger. And so you guys will definitely see more of, for sure, more of Katie and I.
good. So, Jen, a lot has been made about how Tamra has been treating Shannon this season, handling their friendship. Shannon's gone through all of this stuff, and I think a lot of people think that Tamra's sort of kicking her while she's down a little bit, and kind of she's in an alliance sort of with Alexis, and they're building their friendship. What was it like watching all of that dynamic play out while you were filming, and then watching it back on TV? Is it hitting the same for you? Does it feel more intense? What's that like?
Yeah, that stuff is no joke. I mean, I have sat there sometimes watching it back, and people will say, why did that whole dinner happen and nobody like yelled back at Tamra? I think sometimes it's shocking.
Hmm.
Like you're so shocked at what's going on that you're almost frozen. I think that's what I do. Shannon, I can understand Tamra having frustration. I can understand whatever point Tamra is trying to make. I don't understand her delivery. It's so hard on Shannon. And yeah, the kicking Shannon while she's down, she's down. Like
Yeah.
she's down. She's trying to get back up. She is trying to get back up. So can we let her have a moment? And I'm telling you, I've never seen Shannon look so good. I look at her and think, wow, girl, like whatever you're doing is working. And I try, there are moments where I try to sit with Tamra and say, I've been on the receiving end of
Yeah.
that.
We saw that in Big
And
Bear. We saw that in Big Bear. Yeah.
yes,
Hmm.
and your tactic is not a good one. And so I think you saw, then they go have dinner and she calls me and I'm like, okay, lead with your heart, be empathetic, try to listen. And then Tamra does what Tamra does best, and it didn't go well. Yeah, she rides her way too hard.
Yeah, and we saw you, and we also saw you go to Shannon after that. I mean, during that dinner when Shannon left the table, you were the one who went to her. So it's like
Yeah, I know. I
I
laugh.
think you're
She's like,
doing
and
your
nobody
part.
comes out for me. I'm
And
like, I'm
it's like,
standing.
hello,
Hello.
hello.
It's me. I'm here. But I get it. She's
Yeah,
known these women for so long, and it's like I'm the one,
right.
who comes. It was hard for Shannon. It was.
Yeah. And I'm curious for you because I feel like last season you were kind of thrown into it too. Tamara brought you into the group, and you guys had your friendship issues last
Yeah.
year. What did you learn from that experience of like maybe thinking you had kind of like a really, really solid friend in Tamra, and then you guys had these issues you made up, but did you learn something from how that whole thing happened that you brought into the season with you?
Yeah, how could you not?
Yeah.
I mean, I've known her and Eddie for so many years, and wow, did I place value on that friendship. And I think that's why, to be honest with you, I allowed it so many times because I kept thinking there was something real to come back to. Now, did I learn something? For sure. I mean, eyes open at any point. If Tamara's in a Tamara, like I just feel like sometimes Tamara can't stop herself.
Right.
And we've all talked about this drinking stuff with Shannon. Well, Tamara, when she doesn't drink a lot, but when she does, holy cow, watch out. If she's got anything about you or feels a way about you, it's coming out. And so maybe I'm just guarded now. Maybe the friendship wasn't as important to her as it was to me. And that's okay. It took me a minute because it hurt for a long time,
Yeah.
but I'm at a good place with it personally now.
So is it still an important friendship to you, or do you kind of just reclassify it?
I would say this, you are in for a ride this season.
Hmm.
So stay
Yeah,
tuned
I
because
figured. Okay.
the roller
Okay.
coaster is
Yeah, we'll
the
see
roller
where it
coaster
sort of
is coming.
lands. Yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to the sort of Shannon stuff a little bit, we're seeing Alexis in this most recent episode in Sonoma. She says she kind of is sort of shifting blame from her to John Janssen by saying that like John's the one who didn't want to settle in the claim, him suing Shannon for the money. He's the one that wants to release this ring camera footage that's being talked about a lot. It's not her, it's him. Do you believe that, or do you believe it's more both of them?
It's hard because in filming, I only knew what I knew. Like
Hmm.
you don't film every scene with every person. I do get together with John and Alexis outside, and I have learned his side and her side. And this is what I said, navigating that position between
Yeah.
John, Alexis, and Shannon. I mean, how it's like impossible.
Impossible.
You know, when you sit with John and Alexis, you understand their passions. You understand that perspective. When you sit with Shannon, you're like, I see your side too. And my thought, what I always say to Alexis is, at what point do you bow out and
Right.
love your man and support him, but let him and Shannon figure this out? Because this is who it's between, John and Shannon. And I think Alexis, I mean, she just is so loyal and rides so hard for John, but I don't know if that was in her favor.
Yeah. And I feel like at least with viewers, it's not helping because it just kind of feels like that's all she's talking about. And
Yeah.
is that what it felt like when you were filming with her, or were there other? I'm just
But
curious
you
because
have to
like,
understand it was
yeah,
yes, when you're with Alexis, that's like
that's it.
because all of that happened this season. I'm not kidding when I tell you personally, most of us were going through the most
Yeah.
crazy stuff in our
Oh,
lives. So it was like the highs are so high and the lows are so low. And that's actual time for John, Alexis, and Shannon. So you get with either of your friends, what do they want to talk about? What's going on?
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that's what we talked about a ton. I will say, Alexis on several times would say, I don't want to be like this with Shannon. I wish Shannon and I could move it forward. And I do think there were moments for Alexis where she's like, I want to be within this friend group and coexist with Shannon. It was just like
But then John is hitting Shannon again. So it's sort of in her mind, it's like them together. You know what I
yes,
mean?
and then
Yeah.
they are
Yeah.
together. I mean,
Yeah.
they're very much together.
Right. Yeah. They're engaged.
They're
I mean,
engaged.
speaking of, what was your reaction to their engagement news?
Not surprised.
Okay. Yeah, me
Not
neither.
surprised. She has said that since the very first time I met her. You know, when she spoke about him, that was her forever. That was her man. That's who she's spending the rest of her life with. So truly, I was not surprised, just super happy for them.
Speaking of another engagement, we're going to see your engagement play out
Yes.
on later this season. I
Yep.
mean, I remember seeing those photos and just being so happy and wishing that's going to be on the season.
Me too.
What can you tease about that moment? It looks kind of like a fairy tale moment.
It's funny. We had our all cast trip, and at the very end of the trip, we had already been gone, and Ryan kept saying, "You know, I know this trip, could be a lot. So as soon as you are done flying, you straight to the Bahamas. Bahamas is our spot. That's where we always go." And initially, I was so on board, and then at the end of the trip, I thought in London, I'm like tired. Maybe we just go home and see the kids. And everybody, like my mom was on the phone, get on the plane, go see Ryan. You need a minute. My kids were like, no, mom, we're good. So it was kind of funny looking back. I'm like, you guys were all in on
Right.
this,
Of course.
all in on this. And so, I land in the Bahamas and Ryan and I run our program. And then there was just this one day where we're like going to lunch and Ryan keeps like a sunglass case in the ocean, in the pool. I'm like, why is this? What's in it? What are we doing with this sunglass case? And that's where the ring was. And he
That's so
asked, and
cute.
I couldn't even, I don't even know what he said. We laugh about it now because then people saw and people were cheering at the resort and I said, do you remember what you said? And he's like, no, I just know you said yes and we're doing it. I'm like, okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear more about it, but I'm really
Thank
happy
you.
for you. Are you guys wedding planning yet? Or were you sort of waiting for some of this other stuff to be figured out before you jumped into some of that? Where does that stand?
Everybody asks. So every summer we take all the kids and we go to the same spot in the Bahamas. So next summer we'll do our big
Oh,
trip with the
awesome.
kids and it'll be there. It'll be my family, kids, friends who want to come um, on the beach, super casual next summer.
Love it. I mean, something else that's to come. I know that you clarified a lot of this on Watch What Happens Live, which is that his alleged
Oh,
connection to
yes.
this scheme. Has
Yep.
that been cleared? Where does that stand right now?
Well, so for Ryan, yes.
Yeah, good,
Ryan, no involvement. Nothing is
good,
coming Ryan's way. There's nothing that Ryan and I are worried about with Ryan.
awesome.
Our friends, it's still going on for them, but it really is happening to them. So, I took a lot of questions about why do you still support your friends? Well, they're my friends, and it sucks, and
Yeah,
I hate it for them. I hate that Ryan, got drug into it as well. But thank you for asking that. Ryan's great. Nothing's coming,
awesome.
and you will see more.
Yeah.
Stay tuned because it's coming
Well,
up.
that's sort of, I mean, the last question is sort of like what you would want to bring up at the reunion, but I feel like we keep specifically, there's this clip that we keep getting teased. Tamra putting on the FBI hat.
Uh-huh.
I
Drop,
presume
yeah.
you're not at that scene. What
Yeah.
was your reaction to that, and sort of what do you want to bring up at the reunion, maybe off of that?
Oh, how much time do you have? It just goes back
Yeah,
to it goes back to friendship for me. If you ever, if I ever heard something about Eddie or anyone in any of my girlfriends' lives that was concerning, I pick up a phone, I call, be okay, are you good? I heard something, I read something, there's 13 articles. What the hell is going on? And it just shows me more of who that person is, because to make light or poke fun at something
yeah.
so real is, I don't know, it's just not something I would do.
Hmm. Well, Jen, thank you again. This
Yeah.
last 20 minutes, I mean, more open book moments from you, and I just so appreciate your
Oh,
candor and
thank you.
honesty, and just I really am loving you on the show, and just continue to be you because people are really falling in love with you, and I think that you just,
Thank you.
yeah, you're doing it well. You really are.
I appreciate that. Thank you for saying that. That means a lot to me. I
Yeah, of
appreciate that.
course, of course. Well, thanks so much, and hopefully we'll do this again soon.
Yeah, I hope so. Take
Yep.
care.
Bye.
Bye.
I want to gab.